My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
Oh, shit. This is the Washing Up Podcast, and I'm not dead.
Look at you, risen from the plague-stricken household.
Oh, it was an effort, I'll tell you now.
There's a guy going past with a cart.
So to lift...
Fuck coronavirus, we just got normal, run-of-the-mill, voice-stealing plague.
So to sort of lift, behind the curtain for a bit, the other night when we were getting ready to watch Bake Off, I crashed and burnt quite severely.
Yeah, Chris doesn't do this. He never... He's always in control of his aeroplane, that is his body. But unfortunately, it looks like... Is it the Lufthansa that shoot you down?
The Luftwaffe.
The Luftwaffe. The Luftwaffe had just shot you down. That damned Baron keel-hauled you.
Different war, anyway. Different war, anyway.
Flying down.
But no, we got to about 15 minutes before the episode, and I was vaguely trying to get the episode put together. Hold on. And
notice how I put the pause in? Because you've got to have a pause.
There is a pause because the sound travels, yes.
There's travel, yeah.
And I was sitting on the lounge, and it was quite a warm day, and I was sitting on the lounge in a jumper, shivering.
He was very much like Homer Simpson.
When I put that gif out of Duff Gardens, hurrah, I legitimately turned to Kristie at one point to try to justify being able to watch the episode and said, Duff Gardens, hoorah.
At which point I basically said, go to bed.
I was instructed to go to bed. So this is why we're late. So apologies to everyone.
When the plague doctors, a.k.a. cats, escorted him.
They did. And they did their best to look after me. And I got a good 12 hours worth of sleep.
And I found it very interesting how they were able to acquire plague masks so quickly.
Look, they obviously were ready for it. I mean...
Like, do they know? You know how...
I'm starting to worry they actually might have done it. They might have given me the plague.
Well, yes, that's one theory. My theory is that, like how some animals can sense earthquakes, can they sense the coming of a plague? Is this...
We have a cat running around in front of us right now, so I hope not. Because this could be doom.
Yes.
So... It's Dairy Week, or as we call it on British Bake Off, or any form of Bake Off, every fucking week.
It should have been called Cultured Week.
Yeah,
look. People had to use a cultured dough.
But if they'd done, interestingly enough,
and then could you imagine the opening? You'd have Sandy and Noel, just
high class.
Yeah.
Well, what they could have done though, glad you brought this up. They could have actually done Cultured Week, and it would have made a lot more sense because they could have done the first challenge, which was the one about cultured. Milk, or cultured dairy. Then the second challenge, they could have done a cultured yeast for bread. Yep. And they could have come up with a third culture. Easier to do, right? They could have done Cultured Week, and it would have made more sense than Dairy Week. Because Dairy Week didn't make that much sense. They could have got
like 4 Australian living Maori guys from the inner west of Sydney to come and sing a song. Like...
That is a reference that is so niche.
I hope someone gets it. Because 2 girls at my school were in the film clip. And that film clip was filmed at Ashfield Pool, people.
So there's a 90s pop group called Culture.
Yep.
For married gentlemen in Sydney. They had a clip, as Kristie mentioned, at Ashfield Pool.
Oh, my apology. That was Samoan. 4-piece Samoan
Samoan,
group.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Apologies. And then, they were the cool thing for about 2.5 weeks in the 90s.
Yep.
And
so they had 2 hits.
So, of course, Kristie makes reference to this.
Shaka Jam. Remember that?
I vaguely remember that word. Yeah.
Can we use...
No, we can't. They'll want a fee. Yeah, I vaguely remember that. They'll want a fee.
And the one was Fly Girl.
Oh, no. Fly Girl always sounds like what every bad 90s... you've taken it a different way. You've taken a bad horror film.
I'm Jeff Goldblum's daughter from The Fly.
I'm taking it personally. I take it like every bad 90s band, it feels like, had a song called Fly Girl.
Like every 2000s band had a song about Shorty.
Yeah. It was like, Fly Girl, don't you cry, girl. Oh, you'll make me sigh, girl.
You're in the sky, girl.
Yeah, so Fly Girl... I feel like we've just written the song.
You're allergic to wheat, so have some rye, girl.
Instead, I'll have some pie, girl.
Don't go and
Die Girl.
Die Girl, yes.
Oh my God, we're lyrical geniuses.
Here's my shirt. Will you dye it, girl?
So baking puns. We opened the episode with baking puns. And
Like song baking puns, and I loved it. I was there for it. And look, there's some kind of leeway culture because they're talking, and that's a pun in itself. Leading into bands, I quite liked. Was it Susie? Oh, what was it? Shoe pastry and the Banshees.
yes, there were some really good ones actually. I thought there were some really good ones. So they announced that this is the first ever Dairy Week, and again, everyone goes, "What? You've never done a Dairy Week before?" I'm sorry, but especially in Australia, we're just used to butter commercials.
Yeah, you know.
How good's butter?
Oh, you ought to be congratulated.
Yeah, hashtag you ought to be congratulated. How good's butter?
Do you think it's either like Big Dairy was sponsoring them, or it's just like Maggie Beer trying to like? Oh, but no, there wasn't enough butter.
No, I'm
it was
convinced.
All cultured milk.
I'm legitimately convinced that this was paid for by Big Dairy. And the reason I suggest this is that they just kept going back to the well about the butter and the milk and all of the different dairy products and on-selling. It wasn't just that normal generic How Good's Dairy. There was a level of on-sell going on which seems to me to sort of indicate that this was a genuine push by the British dairy industry to get a lot of good publicity.
You know, because they had a lot of bad publicity back in the mid-90s.
No, that mad cow disease didn't help. And now, and they made took a couple of veiled shots at vegans too, so...
Get it?
Thank you for that.
Yeah. I do have to wonder, though, who out of Paul and Prue, I think it's got to be Prue because she's new and we've never had this kind of stuff before. Do you think, like, Maggie Beer is a butter hoarder, Prue is a buttermilk hoarder? Like, she has, like, vast... Because you know how, like, England's very wet and marshy in parts, whereas Australia is very dry, that she just has, like marshlands of, like... Of buttermilk.
What, Buttermilk Lake?
Yes, with like, you know, the old kind of Neolithic? I don't know, but
anyone who can fetch the churn from the middle of the lake shall be queen of the butter.
Yes, she's the lady of the Buttermilk Lake, and she lives in the fens, the Buttermilk fens, distributing spatulas as a means to.
That's not a means to establish a system of buttermilk government.
No, it's
Supreme executive power derives by a mandate from the refrigerator, not from some farcical lake-based ceremony.
What about 3 challenges in a tent to be held annually?
You must go and chop down the mightiest tree in the forest with a butter pat.
Yes. Prue Leith, Lady of the Buttermilk Lake.
Lady of the Buttermilk Lake. So, again...
Paul is her Arthur.
Again, the good Lady of the Buttermilk Lake and Paul set this week as a dairy challenge, which is very vague, although I was so pleased that Michael exists, because Michael was able to help everybody at home to understand this week. He was able to come up with a way that succinctly dealt with it, that demonstrated to all of us why he is the expert and we are but the peasants watching at home, when he said that dairy is different from butter, from bread. Dairy is different from bread.
Because it's milk.
Well, you put butter on bread, so you put dairy on the bread, that's about as close as we get. But the fact that he could separate dairy...
from bread. Sorry, I was like, is there something I'm missing? Because that's all he said, is like, this week, Dairy Week is different to Bread Week.
Yeah. The fact that he was able to clearly and succinctly explain that difference.
Buttermilk Lake.
I don't know how deep it is.
It's mystical. It's like Ceridwen's cauldron.
Has anybody been to the bottom of it?
Infinite.
How do you get to the bottom of the Buttermilk Lake?
That sounds like a Beatles song.
It does sound like something off the back of Sgt. Pepper. How
do you get to the bottom of the Buttermilk
No, it's going to be more.
Lake?
No, it'd be more LSD inspired.
Oh, okay.
It'd be the B-side to Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It's Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds on one side, and how do you get to the bottom of the Buttermilk Lake on the other?
Would have liked to have seen that in Yesterday or Across the Universe. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah. So, as we said, paid for by Big Milk and Big Butter. 2 hours and 15 minutes to bake a dairy cake.
Yes.
What the fuck? Like a dairy cake. Then they explained they wanted a form of cultured dairy. But that's not what the fucking challenge statement was.
Okay, here's my proposition, right?
This would be good.
Dairy cake.
Yes.
You know what you can get in cake form? Fucking ice cream, because that's what me and my niece are doing.
So in other words, what you're suggesting is...
enjoy our birthdays.
Ice cream cakes.
Yes. So, now, as
I think Henry tried with the third dessert.
Henri just... You know why? Because he didn't go MasterChef. This is the perfect time to go, producers, I want some liquid nitrogen and some nitrous oxide. Why the fuck not? What's the nitrous oxide for? Keeping me happy in the tent.
I thought... See, here am I thinking the biggest problem was that he didn't include either Freddo frogs or sprinkles.
Oh, that's the ultimate in ice cream
That's
cake.
how you hold an ice cream cake together. It's bound by the sprinkles or the Freddo, or both.
Look, I reckon that it's a mystical concoction that is enjoyed once a year by you on your birthday.
Yeah, or by people at McDonald's on birthdays. Anyway, so Steph announces that she's making a chocolate raspberry cake with buttermilk as her cultured dairy. Now
it comes from cows who've got a degree.
Now, at this point...
Preferably a postgraduate.
At this point, Dr. Moo.
They call me Dr. Moo.
Moo. Anyway, so Paul... I don't know what was up with Paul and Prue in this episode. Fuck, they were angry.
He's just not having it.
They were not having any of the bakers this week at all. And it starts with this. So he turns around to Steph and he says, "What does buttercream do to your cake?" And
buttermilk.
Buttermilk do to your cake. And she goes, "It makes it soft." And Paul then looks at her and goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is this, Paul?
Who
What
are
questions?
You? Julius,
Sumner Miller?
Sumner Miller?
Are you going to put an egg in a bottle?
Oh, I loved that as a kid.
Or for those Australian listeners who might possibly remember, Curiosity. Do we have Dean and do we have them there? Do we have like a beard and a moustache? And are they standing in front of a naked flame working out why exactly buttermilk makes a cake soft? Or do we just accept it fucking well does, Paul? This isn't a science show and move on.
You know who we could have sent? Hunter. Get CC the computer cat. Hunter. Was it Monty the Mouse?
I think it was Monty the Mouse, but I know it was definitely Hunter and CC, which stood for Computer Cat.
Which, funnily enough, right? Okay, I think Hunter was before its time, okay? Because...
It was filmed in Tasmania, out that much.
Yeah. How many people in this world go, when I have a laptop or I'm working at my computer, what animal comes along to sit on it?
A cat.
Exactly.
To our listeners from overseas, I'm sorry, you understand none of this. We're going to keep moving.
Totes on YouTube.
So, Rosie. Now, Rosie decided to make limoncello. Not the only person. David also decided to use limoncello, but he was a little bit more crafty. You see, because the bit of a difference with his and Rosie's was that Rosie didn't give Sandy a plate of limoncello.
Yeah, it's like, how can I possibly serve this limoncello?
It was like a cat with a saucer of milk.
You know... Generally, like, after you've had a good Italian feed, you'll get, like, a little nip of it in a nice little...
This was like the main course.
It's like...
I'll have a limoncello. So what shot glass? No, I want a main course size. Can I have a main course serve of limoncello? Thanks, not the dessert.
Can I have it served in a hat with the plum floating in it? Like, just a single plum floating.
All right, next time we go to an Italian restaurant, I'm going to test the theory and see if I can order a main course size limoncello. You're driving. Now, David was using yogurt as his cultured dairy. Sure, right? I'm not... I think
you'll find that in Britain it's pronounced yogurt.
Oh, that's right, the yogurt versus yogurt. I would have used Yogo, personally. It's cultured. There's a monkey on the cover.
You get the ones with the M&Ms you can pour
There's
into
a monkey on the cover.
Those from overseas, Yogo is essentially chocolate pudding.
Yeah, it's basically chocolate pudding. And again, look it up. Look, if you're overseas by now, surely you understand when we say something weird, Google it.
You're in the podcast, you've got like an Alexa or something sitting next to you so you can go, "Hey Alexa, what the fuck's Yogo?"
And thank you for doing that and not saying the brand that we have at home so it didn't go off in the background.
Hey Google.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. No, it's going off now.
Hey Google, say...
No problem. Just let me know if you need anything.
Hey Google, say hello to everyone.
G'day. If you're like me and love all things AFL, then think of me as your footy fun facts coach. And just ask.
I don't know if you heard that. If you didn't hear that, that is the quietest moment in the history of the podcast, and Kristie has just stopped it dead. By the way, there were 2 of them going off at the same time then.
Yeah.
So, anyway, moving on. Phil, this is off the rails early. Phil was using yogurt
Yes.
and rosewater. Now, Noel and Phil at this point decided to talk trucks, and in particular horns. And they were testing the horn. Both of them were giving their arm a brah, brah. And then he said, "You've never run over any people." And Phil admits, in his word, "I've done a few pigeons." That's not a euphemism.
Does he mean he's done in a few pigeons? You know, like
That's
gets
what he
cash
means.
on the side.
Well, no, they didn't get the
Take
cash.
it out.
Didn't get the cash.
Just does it
He
for
just
fun.
ran them over.
Just in it for fun.
Yeah, it reminded me, a lot of Phil in that bit there reminded me of the Not the 9 o'clock news sketch, I Like Trucking. Yes. When they're singing about all the things they run over on the road, including running over the hedgehog at the end.
So wrong, roadkill. So sad.
It is. Priya. Now,
Yeah.
Priya was making a banana choc cake with yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
Yogurt. Just a question at this point, because this was the point I turned around to you and I said, why are we all making bunts?
Interesting. I think because so many were making them, I'm like, did I miss an instruction? Was there an instruction like it has to be a bunt? No, bunts were a choice, and I think it's just like the latest easy way to decorate a cake. You know, you pop your bunt out, and you just drizzle something on it, or just in the indents.
Kristie, can you please not suggest to people at home
they drizzle
that they
things on their
drizzle
bunts?
something in the gap of their bunt?
Look, if you're drizzling things in the gap of your bunt, like make sure it's tasty and it's going to hold. You want it to really cling to the gap in your bunt.
Far more importantly, though, I actually think my answer to it seems to be, I reckon it's probably cooking time. That the bunt tin gives you a bit more of a well-rounded cook, and probably is actually that's the reason.
And easier to cut.
You
don't have that middle part to deal with.
That is true.
Yeah.
Obviously,
And when
as
someone
well,
goes, I just want a thin slice.
and far more.
Oh no, that's too big. Can you help? Oh, still too big. Can you just break off a crumb for me?
That crumb's too large. And far more importantly as well,
Coconut cake.
Far more importantly as well, if somebody brings flowers and you don't know what to do with them, you've got the middle of the bunt.
Yes.
If my big fat Greek wedding taught us nothing, it taught us that the purpose of a bunt is to hold flowers.
Yep.
Now,
Could do a candle, you know, if it's a solemn occasion, like a funeral or something.
Hang on. Whoa. You're suggesting the funeral bunt with memorial candle combo.
When I die, if there is not a funeral bunt with a memorial candle in it, you know, with my face like beatified, like a Mother Mary kind of thing, like just come on.
A commemoration.
Is it even at my funeral?
A commemoration bunt with a candle.
Yes.
Okay, handy to know these things where I'm taking notes. You need to remind me, people. Michael decided that he was going to go with 2 forms of cultured dairy.
Why have one? Why stop at one when you can have additional culture?
Why fuck up one when you can fuck up 2? Michael was using sour cream and raspberry cheesecake swirl.
Now, I love his optimism.
I love the get up and go.
I love his, I've done this 10 times at home and only 9 have worked. To which Sandy's like, oh, are your friends fat? He's like, no, I just threw them in the bin. It's like, you're just wasting a lot of eggs and milk and stuff there in vain. Like, after
There's a lot of culture going out the window.
Like, after the 5th one, particularly when you know you've just got a week to perfect this, after the 5th one, wouldn't you be thinking, maybe I'll leave that centre bit out?
Yeah, I'm probably going to start thinking to myself, if I've done that 5 times and I can't make it work, I'm probably going, maybe the concept is flawed for the time I have for the challenge.
Yeah, and I need a bit more time to work on it. I will shelve that. Like, I will press pause on that.
Yeah, not shelving.
You could shelve some cake.
I want to see someone try to shelve a bunt that large.
Apparently there's a warning being put out this week about not putting potatoes up your butt or something.
Okay, that came from completely left field, and what?
There's something on the internet about a warning not to put So I'm saying it as I write it. Potatoes.
I cannot find anything there that says
But-
that. So let's move on while you look that up. I'll keep the show moving.
Doctors are warning people to not put frozen potatoes in their anus, and that's by AussieMan.com.
Who has been putting potatoes in their anuses?
CambridgeNews.uk. There is no medical evidence that putting frozen potatoes into the anus can help cure piles. So they're urging caution to anyone thinking of doing it. Piles often goes away on their own after a few days.
Right.
That's some kind of goop bullshit right there. That is some kind of Gwyneth Paltrow blog fest happening.
A message to the Tide Pod generation from your Uncle Chris. From your Uncle Chris, who loves you dearly.
Do not stand the potatoes up your butt.
To the Tide Pod generation
Some uridoid ointment.
from your Uncle Chris.
Look, you can also...
We can only protect you for so long from the world.
Look, you can...
And unfortunately, this is the last straw. So what we're hoping for now is that you do indeed cram as many potatoes up there as you can. That you go and make yourself a nice Tide Pod stew. And see how that works out for you.
Please don't listen to... I mean, real medical advice is, either have a magnesium salt bath or have some surgery.
They seem like extreme options, and I don't know a medical professional that would ever give that advice out.
No.
Moving on. Helena. So Helena was making flowers. I'm like, oh, they're pretty, but what's the cake she's making? And then they cut to the cake.
It's so cute.
It was the ghost cake.
And then the most gorgeous thing happened to her and Noel.
Oh, her and Noel are amazing. Now, Noel looks like he wants to steal her wardrobe for a start.
Yep.
He's just looking at it. And then it was like, you need to tell your husband you're leaving him for me. And she's like, okay, I will. I've told him I'm leaving.
I'm leaving.
And then he's like, okay, I'll go tell
Birdie.
I'll go
See,
tell her.
I think they just should be progressive and just go poly. Like, how beautiful would that be? Like, because they could just be a big, happy goth poly family and have little ghost babies.
Well, they have one.
I know, they had their first
We'll
one.
come back to her in a minute. So Alice was making a leafy yogurt cake with cardamom and pistachio, and she said she gave this to her students this week because clearly her students don't understand the concept of joy because they were not allowed to have any because the teacher brought in cardamom cake.
Obviously, they'd fucked up an exam.
Yeah, well,
And she's like, as punishment,
fuck you all, eat the fucking cardamom.
this is what you get.
Michelle. Now, Michelle, do you know Michelle's from Wales?
What?
I know.
I thought she was Irish.
And she decided as part of this, rhubarb, indeed.
in meringue form.
So she decided to make, rhubarb, the cake was rhubarb as well with buttercream as the culture. Now, Henri. So, Henri's cake brought back lovely memories of him having breakfast in Germany. Now, at this point, I just looked at Kristie and I said...
Guten Tag, mein friend!
I just said...
Have some cake!
Well, I said to Kristie at this point, he's either from Goodbye Mr. Chips or from All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't know which of those two films Henri is from, but he's from one of them. Like, he's that preppy sort of, if he's in All Quiet on the Western Front, he's the first guy that cops it in the trench. He's the book smart guy who didn't really want to go to war, who gets shot in the head in the trench on day one.
He's an actual pacifist at heart.
Yeah, gets shot in the trench on day one.
He's the only child of a very sweet and loving mother whose husband died, quite tragically. And he's like, if I die, my mother will have no one, and she's sacrificed everything for me to attend Oxford.
Which means he's going to be shot in the head.
Well, we couldn't afford actual Oxford. We're Oxford adjacent.
Well, actually, yeah, I think it's more All Quiet on the Western Front. And here's the thing, because All Quiet on the Western Front's set in Germany. So it's from the German side of the war. But I've got a better one than that. I know where Henry's from.
Where?
Spring Awakening.
Yes.
Henry is a lead character in Spring Awakening.
That's about Bright Young Things, isn't it?
And if he hasn't been in Spring Awakening, he should be.
Yeah. Just there's your next career move, Henry.
Yep.
Sorted.
Right, Henry, it's sorted. You are now the lead actor in Spring Awakening. Congratulations. Don't know if you can sing. Don't really care.
What I like about Henry, though, is he looks like the kind of youth, because he's a literature student, that would know the references. Like, he would get these references.
He would.
And he wouldn't be putting frozen potatoes up his butt.
Thankfully. Now, Michelle, when she turned her cake out, it was really funny because Sandy was on one side and couldn't see the whole thing, and so Sandy celebrated that the cake came out.
Yay!
And meanwhile, Michelle has a look of horror on her face because Michelle moved the tin too fast and too far and smashed the other side of the platter.
Welsh Hulk smash!
Now, my other thought process, and I know people go, oh, I'd be fine, and it probably would have been fine, but part of the cake was on that.
Shards.
Are there shards in the bottom of that cake? Did they warn Paul and Prue there might be shards in the bottom of that cake before they
just
moved
eat
it?
from this side.
Yeah, don't eat the other side.
Because that other side might have fragments of glass in it that will slowly go through your digestive tract, piercing vital organs on the way down, and you'll die a very slow and painful death.
So then we got to watch people take cakes out of bundt tins, which is always fun. And then we got the big drama of Michael's. And will Michael's work? Will it not work? Well, let's face it. He said 9 out of 10 times it hasn't worked. I don't like those odds. And sure enough, it split completely in half. Now, the good news to go with this, because we always have to balance something sad happens in life.
Yeah.
A blessed moment happens in life.
Yeah.
And the blessed moment was the birth of Noel and Helena's first child, Hazel.
Oh, yeah, we here at The Washing Up would just like to extend our congratulations to their newborn ghost baby.
Yes, ghost baby Hazel.
With her ghost baby flowers.
Yep.
Her little ghost baby arms.
And her ghost baby parents, of course. Noel and Helena. I believe both mummy and daddy are doing well.
Yes, and so is daddy's mummy and mummy's daddy.
Let's go with that. Anyway, judging. They loved Henry's. Of course they did. Rosie, they said, what's the booze like? What's the booze like? And Sandy just responded with, hi. They said the cultured milk was quite good and it had a great lemon flavour. Helen, as I said, had a lovely structure, and I loved Prue's comment where she looked at her and goes, you know, for a mad woman, you're doing well. David's was very neat. They said the structure was nice and light, and they loved it. Steph, they said so much chocolate, but it was lovely, light, and it had a very moist sponge to it. Phil, now they said the decoration was a little messy. Now they started to get on Phil early, and I felt bad for Phil. They're like, the decoration's a bit messy. Meanwhile, Michael's looked like someone had literally just stomped on it after it had been dropped. Anyway.
I mentioned this clash a lot. It was a leaky prolapse.
It was. Then they said that Phil's texture was good and he needed more rose water, which is interesting. We had that pop up a few times tonight. People were underusing the rose water. Normally, it's the other way around.
Ooh, too much rose water. I'm drinking my grandmother's perfume.
Alice, they said it looked pretty. The cake, however, was a little bit bland, but the texture of the cake was good.
Yeah.
No wonder the cake was a little bit bland. Again, it was cardamom. Priya, the presentation was good, but the outside was really tough. But they did say the banana flavour was quite nice. They said Michelle's meringues looked really good. And then with the judging, the best way to describe the judging was Sandy Togsvig, who asked, is there a Welsh word for claggy? Not really what you want to hear. And
yeah,
Michael,
there is, but it's about 50 letters long.
probably, and none of it. None of
there's
those
like one vowel.
and none of those letters make the sound you think they make.
No.
The Welsh language is a very confusing language. I've tried and no.
But if you want to learn how to speak Welsh, who should they be watching? That rap.
Oh, Rapscallion.
Rapscallion, there you go.
Fidi Rapscallion. Rap the Fora Hughes. I'm not even going to pretend. Michael. Now, Michael had what they referred to as the sticking problem. And what I loved was that Paul was kind and charming and didn't mention... No, hang on, sorry, what's that? No, he mentioned every single fault with the cake. But then said that the flavour was delicious.
Your prolapse is sticky, but it's delicious. Did he...
Tasty, tasty prolapse.
So you don't actually eat that cake, you felch it.
You had to get felching in some way, didn't you?
Always have to get felching in somewhere.
Anyway, there's only one place to get it in. Anyway, so the technical was a Prue technical this week.
Prue.
And again, while some people are listening going, are they okay there? We've both got ridiculously sore throats while we do this.
We do. I'm so sorry.
So,
I can't get my intonation right at all.
That's why the voices are a bit down tonight. And that's why the tone's a bit down tonight is we're still both recovering, really, because poor Kristie, unfortunately, living in close proximity to me means you're going to pick up the lurgy. So, I've actually had to lift up the curtain a little bit more, I've had a spray with me all week, which is one of those numbing sprays you can use, medicated numbing sprays designed for people that have to go and do big public speeches when their throats don't work.
Yep.
So it numbs everything and also provides enough saliva to give you the ability to talk. That's been great.
That would have been handy. Can I borrow some?
I don't have it with me. It's in the car.
Oh. And you knew we were doing a podcast tonight. Oh, you didn't know my throat was sore.
No, I didn't know your throat was sore. Anyway, so the technical is 12 Maids of Honour, which I believe is part of the 12 Days of Christmas.
It's the 12 Days of Easter.
No, it's the 12 Days of Executing Wives, because it's a Henry VIII special.
Oh, that's right.
So
it's the new introduction.
10 blades are swinging. 9 wives are cringing. Look, there's only 8 of them. No. There's extra wives are cringing.
I like it gets down to just 2 female heirs.
2 weddings to 1 woman. So Henry VIII kept this under lock and key, and I don't really know who was keen to steal it. It sounds in theory like it might work, much like communism sounds in theory like it might work.
Look, in the Tudor days, I'm sure it was fucking delicious. You know why? Because everything else was fucking terrible. I mean, this is...
So let's get into something really important here that we need to bring up, because it gets brought up later on, but I want to bring it up at the start because you picked it, and I was very... I mean, obviously, I know that you know this stuff, and that's why, but as a historian, nothing warmed the cockles of my heart more than when a certain Welsh person turns around and goes, I wouldn't know what a Tudor rose looks like. I'm Welsh.
And I've yelled out, but Henry Tudor was Welsh!
The Tudor family are Welsh. They're from fucking Wales.
The others were just killing each other to death, and in walks the Tudors going, well...
This castle looks empty.
This looks pretty free. How about we just sit up here and rule?
And they let everyone else kill themselves.
Yep.
And the Tudors just went, sweet.
Yoink.
So all that stuff about not knowing really what does an English rose look like, I wouldn't know I'm Welsh. It's a fucking Tudor rose, and what does it look like? It looks like the symbol of the family that came from your part of the world. Anyway, let's move on.
Sure, but a Welsh rose is a leek. When I got married, I just carried a bunch of leeks down the aisle. On a dragon back.
So...
Gwyneth Nudd gave me away.
Not Henry Tudor,
and
but...
all the Welsh fairy tale people. They're going, oh my god, she made a Gwyneth Nudd reference. Yeah, I did. Take that. Her bridesmaid was Arwen. Yeah, keeping it real.
So not Henry Tudor and not Henry VIII, obviously, but Henry, Henry. Starts off his challenge by saying something that, as a fan of Bake Off for a long time, disturbed me. He said, I've never made a lemon curd before, and I've never made rough puff before. Ooh. Help. How the fuck do you go on Bake Off without having ever made either of those two things? And there was a moment later on where Michelle turned around and asked Phil how to make curd.
Which...
It's a technical challenge.
Yep.
And poor Phil went home.
Yeah, and this is the thing, it's like, in a technical, you're not supposed to be asking other people for advice.
No.
And we've seen that kind of, we've seen assistance given over the years, but in something like this, it is what it is, and, the producers didn't call it, so we'll just have to live with it.
But, yeah.
But it's just, yeah.
Now, what I liked about this one is they said no blind bake. Okay, I liked this, but at the same time I didn't. They brought up the idea that no blind bake meant we had big potential for a soggy bottom, and then not once did they even vaguely pretend to look for a soggy bottom. Now, the main reason for that was that, look, let's just skip to the conclusion and we'll go back through it. They were all shithouse.
Yep.
Absolutely appalling. I've never seen Paul Hollywood walk out And he walked in, he took a look, and walked out, turned around and went...
Moran.
He turned around, no, he did what Bruno sort of did with the creme caramel.
Bruno, that's it. Yeah, he did a creme caramel moment.
But he just walked out, turned around, walked back in, and just went, these are terrible. Like, Prue was trying to come up with a diplomatic way of saying they were horrible, and Paul looks and goes, these are terrible. These are absolutely terrible.
He had no fucks to give this week.
No,
he
didn't.
Behold my field of fucks.
Now, Helena's rough puff was far more flake. And it took us 3/4 of this challenge to work out why. And then Helena goes, I forgot to put water in it. Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Get a short crust.
My answer is make it again. I don't care if you're running out of time. I don't care if you're not going to blind bake it and it might be a soggy bottom. It's not going to be what you served, which was basically falling apart.
Yeah.
Then we got to watch one of the least delicious things on television, the creation of cheese curd.
Oh, like... I know that
it's a
making
horrific
your own
process.
ricotta and all this kind of stuff is cool and trendy and funky and whatever. But there's a reason why I like to buy my stuff pre-made. I don't have to put up with... Henry's... Was it Henry? No, it was Michael's. Michael's reaction was exactly...
And you could smell it through the TV.
Yes.
Like, if you've ever smelt that being made, you could smell it through the TV, and it's not a good smell.
No. It's curdling milk.
Exactly, and it's... No.
It's that whole, when you've gone away for a week and you come home and you've forgotten to tip out the milk.
Yeah.
Because you think, oh, that'll last another week. Come home, nah, it hasn't. And it's separated and it's chunky and you're just like, down to the fishes you go. Because I presume it doesn't pass through a water treatment plant. It just slips through.
What, just slips through in so the fish can ride on it?
Yeah. Just, they're big fans of curded milk now.
Then the instructions simply call for them to make... Then the instructions simply call for them to make lemon curd. That was it.
That's good. That's bordering on Canadian Bake Off first week.
And then Michelle asked Phil for pointers, which I said, Now, Priya continued to work on the curd.
Yeah.
On the heat. Everyone else made the curd and went, well, we know what happens. We leave that now because it'll set and it'll get more firm. And Priya continues to just stir it on the heat.
I just wanted it.
And she looks around and goes, everyone else has stopped. I don't know why. I'm not there yet. Stir, 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 stir. And you're like, stop. Clearly, if everybody else is walking away from it, leaving it alone, maybe leave it alone. Yeah,
and you've got to weigh up, is a slightly runnier curd a better option than having nothing else done?
Which is what she was at.
Considering they went, we're not even going to try that.
I had a lot of... Look, I love Priya, but I had a lot of problems with this bake from Priya. I don't feel that she really served a technical at all.
No.
I don't think she did. And when we get to the judging at the end, I kind of feel that that's something that was overlooked a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean
a lot.
And I don't care. I know that the Showstopper balances more and blah, 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 but I got a big problem with that. We'll come back to that, though. So then Alice was asking for a bit of advice, and again, you're not supposed to ask the judges for advice, but Sandy did it brilliantly. She went, don't make them too, that was it. That was her whole advice. Don't make them too,
Yeah. And I like how, when Welsh Michelle, who I only just found out was Welsh, was rolling out her pastry, she asked Noel to, he just very gently just...
roll it out.
Coated.
Push.
Coated it with a rolling pin.
Then Rosie's alarm went off on the timer, and Noel goes over to her and goes, no, your timer's not going off. It's all in your head. And Rosie actually had to do a double take.
Yeah, she's like, is it? It's like, how often do bells ring in your head, Rosie?
Apparently a lot. And then, when they were about to finish, and they get to the part about, they go, right, you're almost done, and time's up. Serve them up and bring them to the King of Malta. And you just heard Priya go, is there any point?
And it's like, we've all seen Chef's Table with Massimo dropping the lemon tart and creating something wonderful.
Yes.
No. Priya just dropped it.
Oops, I forgot the lemon tart. Anyway.
So there's the episode title.
I've got a better one.
Okay.
All right, so Paul is really upset.
Bouquet of leeks. Yes.
So David's, they said, were too shallow. This is a theme, by the way. They were all too shallow. he said at least there's a form of something in the middle of it. Maybe a rose, who knew?
Yeah.
Michelle, they said the pastry was good, but there was no height, and the curd was quite good. Alice's were flat as pancakes, and they were. You looked at me like, that's really thin. The curd was quite good, though. Priya, they didn't even bother to look at.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he just looked at it and went, I'm not bothering, and moved. Yeah. Rosie, they said there was no height, but a really good effort. Helena's, they couldn't pick up because the pastry was just dust. Phil had no rose and was a little bit too dry. Steph had some pattern and had some really nice pastry. Henry's tasted nice. And Michael his pastry had all shrunk.
Yeah. Honey, I shrunk the pastry.
So with the judging, we had Priya was 10th, obviously. Helena was 9th. Alice was 8th. Michael was 7th. Phil was 6th. Remember that. Mm-hmm. Michelle was 5th. Rosie was 4th. Henry was 3rd. David was 2nd. Steph was 1st. And when they announced David was 2nd, he smiled. And Paul looked at him and went, don't smile at that. It's not good. And then when they got to number 1 and they announced that Steph had got that, and Prue goes, I'd like to say this is one of the greatest things I've ever eaten. But it's the best of the bunch. It was just like nobody was happy, and it was just like a challenge that was like, just throw it out.
Yeah.
Throw the whole thing out. It was very creme caramel. I don't think anything will ever live up to the epicness that was creme caramel, but this is pretty close. I mean, the difference was they sort of all turned out like things that looked like tarts, whereas in the creme caramel episode of Canadian Bake Off, they just serve puddles.
I've just realised... Okay, so we've spoken about the Commonwealth Games in the past, right? And we're going to touch on that later.
We're definitely touching on the Commonwealth Games.
I've just had a thought about one event. It's going to be the Cursed Bake event, the Cursed Technical. And it could either be, like, you have to draw straws, and the straws will either mean that you do a creme caramel, a jam drop, or a,
I see your concept.
Yes.
I raise you.
Yeah.
The technical is a high tea technical.
And you have to make all 3.
All 3.
Yes!
The high tea technical.
And you only have a team of 2. Yeah.
So you can't all work on one.
Or is it like MasterChef where you have to... It's a relay.
It's the team relay event.
It's the high tea relay.
And you've got to explain what the technical is when they come out, which one you're working on.
Yeah.
And what the other 2 are. So you've got to remember one while you work. Oh, this is gold.
Oh, yes.
Commonwealth, Bake Off Commonwealth Games, all rights reserved to the Washing Up podcast. Anyway, the Showstopper. Mishti. Basically, we're talking...
Rhymes with Kristie.
Sort of. Basically, we're talking about Indian sweets. Yeah. Now, there's a couple of key things to understand. First of all, they got 3.5 hours. Second of all, they had to produce 3. Mm-hmm. Third, they were told that one of them they could make however they wanted.
Yeah, but that was after, obviously, the milk was taking for fucking ever to reduce.
Yeah, they just said you can do whatever you want for another one. Also, question.
Yep.
Level of baking for this challenge.
I took this challenge like I've taken some of the challenges that we've questioned in the past, like the lace pancakes, for example.
Well, I still don't agree with the lace pancakes. But.
What are those little... You know what I'm talking about? In the pan, and there's a gate that's named after... that's formed like them, and they fed an army.
The Dampf noodle.
Dampf noodle. I take it like the Dampf noodle in that, you know, it's technically... Like, there's probably elements that are baked, because there's thousands or hundreds of different mishtis, because they're all, you know, different culture. I presume it's like a petit four, you know, like anyway. And there might be some that are baked and some that aren't. And because it was so open, it was put that way. And I'm kind of cool with it because, you know, I'm into seeing new shit on the show.
I don't mind seeing the new shit, but I would have liked them to do something a bit more baked. Anyway,
I mean, they could have made a stipulation that one of them had to have.
They should have, but anyway, in
the oven.
As you pointed out as well, it was good to see Prue by Jenny Key.
She looked like part of a print on a Jenny Key jumper, like because I grew up in the inner city of Miscellaneous City. There was a lot of Ken Doan and Jenny Key shops. Like, if you remember the one on Pitt Street Mall, like
Darling Harbour was full of them.
I know. And there was a stage I went through when I was about 11 or 12 where if I'd have gotten a Jenny Key jumper, I think I would have died happy. I think I would have just gone, all right, that and my Shearer Swan, and I'm out. Like,
Perfect.
Yeah. These days, though, it's like too close to a Cosby jumper. I'll pass.
No, you can reclaim it. So
Yeah?
it's like the Hitler moustache. People are trying to reclaim the Hitler moustache.
Really?
Because it's not a Hitler moustache. It was the fashion at the time, and Charlie Chaplin had it first.
Oh, yeah, but
Hitler had it because it was the fashion at the time.
I think there's too much trauma. There's just some things.
I mean, if you see someone walking down the street with a Hitler moustache and a Cosby sweater, run.
Yeah.
Run, don't walk, run.
Driving a Volkswagen.
Yeah, driving
van.
a Volkswagen, the only car you can bend a friend over from both ends. Anyway, did I say that out loud or think it? Anyway, moving on. Colour and vibrancy in this challenge is what they are after, so it's the opposite of most Bake-Off challenges.
Yes.
Most British Bake-Off challenges, they don't care about colour or vibrancy. In this one, they wanted colour and vibrancy. So, it's the opposite of most of these Bake-Off showstoppers.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's really, if you think about it logically and go back through the history of British Bake-Off technical showstoppers, they're big a lot of the time. But, think about the most grand thing they ever did, which is really the bread sculpture.
Yeah.
It was very bland.
Yeah, although remember the Showstopper for... Oh, was it? No, it wasn't Candace's year. It was another year. No, I think it was Candace's... No, I'll get this wrong and people go, it was the show, Kristie. Oh, my God. Remember when they had to make a picnic for the Queen?
Yep.
And there was a chocolate cake and all that kind of stuff?
To be fair, that was the grand final.
I know, but it was still pretty...
And they have to make the grand final one look good.
Yeah, it was pretty fancy.
So...
Or biscuit sculptures.
So they were talking about reducing the milk down.
I like a good biscuit sculpture.
They were talking about reducing the milk down, and Helena goes, only nutters do it this way, so here I am. Now, Alice decided she was going with British and Indian fusion, so I assume that what she was suggesting was that the spices in her bake would be looted and taken back to England, and the rest of the natural resources would also be exploited, and that the Indian part of it would be left with nothing but, shattered memories in a divided country where she'd just drawn a line up the middle of the tea set. Either that, or we're talking about English-looking sweets made of Indian sweets. Could be partition, could just be a sweet in a cup. Either or, really. I mean, who's to say what's right and what's wrong in this workaday world? Anyway, Henry at this point was being death stared by Paul. Because they were talking about you don't want to have anything wrong with your milk, nothing burning your milk. And he walks over as he goes, I got a bit of burnt, just a little bit. There's one little bit of burning in there. And Paul is just death staring him.
Yeah.
Now, Priya was making saffron and cardamom sweets, and she was talking about how growing up, this was one of her favourite things, but her father would talk about, he'd just sit there for 5 hours stirring the milk and making all these sorts of things.
Well, I looked online as we were watching, and you can get little I don't know how effective they are, because they are like $12 on eBay, but they're hands-free pot stirrers.
Yeah.
And whack them in. I presume they double as a head massage.
Head massage
machine.
if you want.
Yeah. Just
Maybe if they go around, maybe you could use them to clear rain off your head.
But now I understand what a Thermomix can be used for. Because for me, everyone's like, oh, you can cook soups and I'm like, I can cook soup in a fucking crock pot and blah, blah, blah. Now I'm like, oh, this makes more sense.
So we'll get you a Thermomix for Indian sweets. Anyway.
Yep. That'll be me. I only get to the part where I'm condensing the milk, though. The rest of it's just too hard.
Michael was using the colours of the Indian flag for his one. Lots of mango, pistachio, lemon, rosewater. Now, interestingly enough, they now said that Michael has Bengali heritage. I think his grandfather, is Bengali. But he absolutely hates Indian milk sweets.
Yeah, well, it's you've got Scottish heritage. Are you down for all the Scotch food? Are you down for haggis?
I'd be
down for deep-fried last one? Yeah, haggis sounds actually pretty nice.
Yeah. It's haggis is something you've got to eat a couple of times.
Would you eat a stunner?
I don't think anyone can eat a stunner and live. It's not so much about the flavour problem. It's
just
more
the
about
cholesterol.
It's I don't want to have a heart attack as I bite into my first bite.
Yeah, it's welcome to Scotland, have a stunner.
Yeah,
you're
welcome to Scotland. Don't stay long because you're going to die because you've had a mouthful of stunner.
What about oat
We've talked
cakes?
about the stunner before, by the way. Deep fried pork sausage kebab.
What about oat cakes? They're quite bland.
Yeah, but I'm not going to struggle to eat those. They're just nothing.
Yeah.
My McVitie's digestive. And I'm waiting for it, the UK. Bring it on, you fans of the McVitie's digestives.
Where's Grieg from? He's from what?
Grieg.
Is he, like, Belgian?
Danish.
Oh, he's Danish. Like, do you like all the Danish food?
Yes.
Okay.
What comes in a blue tin?
Oh, the Belgian chocolate.
The Danish cookies.
Oh, Danish cookies. I was like, Belgian chocolates. That's not from Denmark.
Danish cookies.
Danish cookies.
Or sewing kits. Anyway, so Steph went with rose and pistachio with date and walnut. And she was also looking to get a pink colour going because, as she said, I need to touch a Steph on there.
Did you know I'm possibly related to Steph then? Because, like, my grandfather's side, on my mum's side, my mum's dad's side, they're Welsh. The Welsh descendants.
That's Michelle.
Michelle. Who did I say?
Steph.
Oh, look, I'm probably related to Steph too because she's English and I'm third generation.
Well, your father had you convinced you were related to Ned Kelly, but anyway, moving on.
I probably am.
No, you're not. You're really not.
And to some potato thieves, apparently.
That's more likely.
And that was just last week.
How did they smuggle those potatoes, though? Because there's been a health warning, as we know. Anyway, moving on. Noel talking about David. It was great. Because Noel came over to Steph, and he's talking to Steph about, you know, you got to watch out for David. And then she turns around and he goes, I mean, look at his fringe. Nowhere. One of the best heckles in the tent.
Yeah.
Followed by her going, yeah, you're right, nowhere. We've got to have a chat to him about that fringe. I don't know what that fringe is. David was then talking about his and said that he actually asked an Indian friend to come along just to help him with the pronunciation of everything.
That's good.
Which is quite clever because I would have done that. He just went with what he called the flavours of India, so he used a lot of more traditional flavours.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Kamal was there to say, do try it.
Now...
So could tea then technically be an Indian flavour?
Okay, so technically most of the tea, and especially the tea that you're talking about,
Yeah.
is from Ceylon.
Oh, that's
So
not.
Sri Lanka.
Oh, okay, and that's a different
It's-
part of the continent.
But there's a lot of tea in India, obviously, so yes, you could. Tea would work.
Oh, you could do a chai flavour.
Thankfully, we'll come to the drinking game in a minute. There was no matcha to be seen.
Yeah.
So, now, Henri.
Henri.
Because as we said, you could make the third one any way you want. Who makes a fucking ice cream?
Well, unless you're getting the liquid nitrogen, as my brain wants
The
to say.
liquid nitrogen, yes.
The liquid nitrogen, which will freeze your mix quickly. I'm not trusting those bake-off. I mean, they barely cooled down pastry.
Yep. And that was the thing. He put the ice cream in. It was never going to set. And sure enough, all he had was like this runny puddle.
Look, I admire him for thinking outside the box. I think he needs to watch more reality food TV to bone up.
Yep. Bone hard, Henry.
With your
Bone
balls?
hard. We'll
So
come
your
back to
balls are more-
we'll come back to his balls.
Okay, we'll let
so
his balls simmer.
Michelle. Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, Wales is a place on earth. You have to know it. Rice pudding comes first. She'll make Wales a place on earth. She made a tonka bean rice pudding.
Carlisle.
A tonka bean rice pudding.
One, good to see another country that allows tonka beans in.
True. Two, and far more importantly, like I know you were doing it as an honour and a tribute to, I think it's your husband's mum, but like, come on, all right, we get it. You're from Wales, like, come on.
And this really felt like, because rice pudding isn't a Welsh thing. Like, rice pudding is everywhere. Like, we've all had rice pudding, and it's obvious that India has their own version of rice pudding.
Could have literally just made that.
Like, you know, Japan has their version of rice. Everyone who eats rice has a version of rice pudding, right? So to then crowbar in Wales,
like, it was a forced effort there.
Fair shake of the leek bottle.
Next week, I'm looking forward to some form of Heinz baked beans. You know, just waiting for it. Anyway,
In the shape of Torchwood.
yeah. So now this is what I've been waiting for. Helena was making an old sweet shop.
Yes.
Now, I don't really care about the fact she had 3 different flavours there because there's only one thing I care about. Lemon sherbets.
That was great.
Lemon sherbets
Dumbledore is skipping down the halls.
Lemon sherbets are by far and away my favourite British sweet.
They're delicious, isn't? Like, even before they were made popular in Harry Potter and Dumbledore. And you're not a Potter.
I'm not a Potter fan.
Yeah.
So I absolutely have always adored, every time I go past a British lolly shop, I have to go in and buy a bag of lemon sherbets. I just have to.
Yeah, just... when you see Chris on the street, just throw him a lemon sherbet. Make his day.
Look, I'll take it. I'll happily take them. But it's interesting, like, because what else would you have done? So if you had to make an old sweet shop.
An ye oldie sweet shop, I'm there for a gobstopper.
Yep.
Because for me, like, I don't like them per se,
But
I can't
Slugworth will offer you a lot of money for it, and that's far
But
more
I can't
important.
pass up the whole, like, value for money, because you buy something that's relatively cheap and the hours of enjoyment that you get out of it and broken teeth are worth it. My favourite thing to do when we were in primary school and we'd go up to the Blue Mountains for our, like, excursions, I think we only went there for 2, but we were taken to the Lural Lolly Shop. Well, we a bunch of kids in a candy store. Literally. Oh, it was magical, like, because they had all the sweets in bottles on the shelf, and I was only really used to lollipops at Darling Harbour where you could shovel it out.
I love lollipops at Darling Harbour. The problem with that, by the way, and I know we're reminiscing a lot here, guys, but come on, there's not a lot. There's really not a lot.
Yeah.
What I really used to love about that lollipop shop in Darling Harbour in Miscellaneous City
I wonder if we
is
crossed
that
paths
the floor,
as children.
we've had this conversation before, probably
Yes!
not. The floor looked like lollies. So the problem was, when you dropped something, you couldn't find it. There was no chance that you were ever going to find it. And I used to like getting all the different gummies, because they had the proper soft gummies, not those ridiculously hard ones.
Yeah.
And so I used to like getting all the gummies, but the problem would be the gummy would hit the floor and you go, I can't find it, because the floor, it looks like gummy.
Yep. There ain't no way you're recovering that, but some poor shop assistant at the end of the
They had
day...
to go sweep it all up at the end of the day.
Particularly on a hot day when it's gooey into the ground.
Oh, that would have been terrible.
Yeah, mine was always getting some lolly teeth and,
So, what Noel was tickled by, however, Noel was tickled by the fact that Helena made biscuit spoons.
Yes!
They look so cool. And like later on in the judging, that was one of the things that Prue commented on. She's like, I absolutely adore these.
Yeah, and I know we've seen them before, but
it was really well done.
It's a really cool idea.
Rosie was making a 20s cocktail bar completely for the colour.
Yep.
Like, she had no other reason. She's like, I want a colourful theme. I need something to match the colour palette. That's what I'm doing.
That's a pretty cool idea. And if you're having like a Great Gatsby-themed party and you want to serve up something different... You know, me and my bright young things are having our salad days. Let's have some cocktails.
I still don't
Indian style.
I still never understand the phrase salad days for that, because they don't seem like the best days of your life.
No.
The days where you have to eat salad don't seem like the best days of your life at all. You don't win friends with salad.
They're sad days, really.
They're very disappointing days. Phil, let's talk about it. So Phil felt to me in this challenge like Phil could not have given a shit.
Yeah.
He looked out the window and went, I've got a garden. That'll do. He did, however, bring the most important element of the entire bake.
Well, that's Sandy's father.
Yes.
The gnome.
So he brought his gnome, Norman the gnome, stood Norman in the corner of it, and that was great.
I reckon his name's spelled Gnorman.
Yes, so do I, 100%. He made a rockery garden.
Norman Norris the Moon.
Now, what I didn't like about the way they judged Phil's was that, like, straight up, they turned around and had a go at him about it's not as classy as the others.
Yeah, well, it's
they wanted
Culture
colour.
Week.
They wanted colour. Not Culture Week, it's Dairy Week.
Well,
They wanted colour. They wanted vibrancy.
Yeah.
He gave them colour and vibrancy, and they went, that's too much colour, that's too much vibrancy.
But then they said it was akin to Play-Doh. Now, I don't know who's sitting around munching on Play-Doh, particularly after kids have been using it, because those little fuckers are full of germs. Like, just watching my nephew pick his nose, roll the Play-Doh, and then sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star as we had to cut out multiple stars. And he'd walk away, like, dancing as we sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And he'd come back and you have to cut out another star. And away he'd go again, singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. But all the germs. You're not eating that shit.
So, Steph commented at this point that Henry clearly thought that size matters. At which point, the camera cuts directly to Henry, or should we say, Jim Halpert from The Office. We're
just waiting for the to start after it.
He gave the most perfect
Jim
Halpert look down the camera with the little shrug almost.
I was waiting for that to be the cold open for them.
It's like, again, it's like whenever you see outtakes for The American Office and they turn around and they go, when John Krasinski is doing something and someone laughs and goes, he's doing that Jim look again. Sandy was really happy that not only does Ganesh have a favourite sweet,
Yes.
but that it's not a Haribo.
Well, one, went around back in, like, ancient Indian days. Two, even humans don't like fucking Haribos. Like,
Not really.
They are essentially gum paste with no fucking flavour. Like, whenever anyone buys Haribos, I'm like, do you hate me? Are you here and you're showing up with these shit sweets that were obviously on fucking special, and instead of going for the good lollies, like some nice musk sticks, like even fucking black and gold musk sticks taste better. In fact, I think they're superior. So, like, there's all these awesome lollies, right? Some of which are probably even cheaper than that bullshit pack of Haribo that you just had to get. Like, what is going through your mind when you're looking at the Haribo packet, which is one, looks like a condom packet, like the colouring and the writing on it is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Just get some barley sugar, get some fucking lemon sherbet. Sherbet lemon? What the fuck, people?
So Henry's ice cream failed. And then he looks and he goes, oh, well, at least the balls are firm. At which point they cut... at which point the camera cut to romance novelist Prue Leaf. Someone knew what they were doing. Right, judging.
Yes.
Steph, they said it was neat and amazing. The flavouring was a very nice combo and very well blended.
Mm-hmm.
David, they said the flavours were good and it was very aromatic as well. Alice, they said that the cheesecake was moist and all of it was really good. Helena, they said it looked great and the citrus and the lemon in particular was very nice. Rosie, they said the colours all matched really well and it was delicious. Michelle's looked nice, however, Paul hated the rice pudding. Like, just did not get it. She's like, but that's my favourite. And Paul's like, I don't really care.
Is that your heart? Let me stamp on it.
Henry, they said it had a nice vanilla to it. The texture was wrong because of the melting. But
Funny that.
yeah. Michael's, they said...
Something wrong with this ice cream.
know.
I seem to be drinking it.
Yeah. Michael, they said it was stylish, the flavours were great, and that he balanced it really well.
You know what he could have done to avoid the balls? Is just served it like a cocktail.
True. He should have. I mean, there were glasses there, clearly.
Yeah.
We saw that. I mean, Rosie used
Like a little cup of tea. Cup of cold ice cream.
Priya needed more colour in the edible things, they said, and that was a bit confusing because they were pretty colourful.
Like, that saffron was bright yellow.
Paul liked it, and Prue really loved the saffron. Really loved the saffron. Phil, they said the flavours were overdone, and they said that it tasted a little bit...
Fake. Well, he
Fake.
was using essences, I guess.
Yeah, he used the essences. Now, when they were doing the judging, there was a line that you actually made me rewind.
Because you wandered downstairs for some reason, and I'm like, no, you need to hear this.
So Prue was trying to come up with the reasons for judging and said, look, Henry can't be Star Baker, he just did 3 round balls. And Paul responds, like a mutant. Now...
I'm not saying I've had a boyfriend that had 3, but I've had 2.
What?
In one, there was a twofer. One side, on each of these different gentlemen, there were twofers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like getting a double yoker and an egg. Anyway,
That's what I thought as I cracked them open for breakfast.
Steph was Star Baker, and that's perfectly fair and very well deserved. Phil went home, and I got to say, it kind of felt a little bit to me like one of these things is not like the others. A lot of people online were talking about the fact that they thought that maybe it was the quality of the Showstopper saved Michael and saved Priya.
Yeah.
In Michael's case, I can sort of see it a little bit. He did a really good job. Priya's was pretty good too, but got to remember Michael's first challenge was an absolute disaster. Priya's second challenge, the technical. Okay, so I know the technical isn't weighted as heavily as the Showstopper. We all know this. Priya technically did not serve a technical.
Well, they didn't even taste it.
Like, they just ignored it and went, no. Like, she didn't serve it anything close to what is a technical. So she just skipped an entire bake. I don't see how you stay if you skip one.
Yeah.
Like, if you try and it doesn't work, one thing. If you just skip the bake, That doesn't make any sense to
But
me.
she didn't. She tried. Just to get them all on the plate.
She would know. Well, she threw something on the plate at the end, but she had nothing there and threw a couple.
Yeah.
Right, but it wasn't really what I call a genuine attempt to serve it up. She was done. So I didn't feel like Phil had that bad a week. And I just felt that there were other people that had much more going on that didn't go home.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to get up in arms and, like, demand that there's a recount and Phil was wrong, but...
Because the series has ended and everyone's moved on with their lives.
But what I am going to say is
Except us Australians.
But what I am going to say is I didn't really like their logic, and when they were trying to explain it at the end, Paul Hollywood didn't sound convinced.
No.
Like, Paul Hollywood sounded like he was trying to justify it to himself.
Look, it was pulling... Yeah, I'm not happy. I'm not unhappy.
It exists.
I'm just...
It's a thing.
It happened. Now, I want to tell you a random anecdote. Okay, this is synergy, because you overheard this conversation. So I called my dad before we watched Bake Off to see how he's going, because the mobile phone tower in his rural location is out for servicing, so can only talk to him when he's at work. So he was making his dinner, and he goes, "Oh, Kristie, I'm heating up my dinner." I'm like, "What are you having, Dad?" He's like, "Oh, I'm having meatballs on spaghetti." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds nice." He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to pour some sauce on it." So you go, "Are you going to pour some sauce in your balls, Dad?" And just this long list of ball and sauce and such innuendos started, and then he had to finish with, "Well, it's done now, and I want to eat it while the balls are still hot." I'm like, "Oh, you got some hot balls there, do you, Dad? Going to sauce them up, getting saucy hot balls." And he's like, "Yep." And it's a lean cuisine, so it's healthy. I'm like, "Oh, good to hear you've got some healthy hot balls, Dad." And then we started talking about Henry's balls. Like, how? Like, that's just synergy. That's just meant to be.
If you would like to hear bold comedy like that,
Ball talk.
then I've got some news for you. Right, I did say on Twitter the other day while I was dying, that we would have some form of announcement tonight, which would be quite exciting.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to let the Herald go. We had booked him for the announcement, but alas, we had to use them.
He also started coughing. So,
yeah.
All right. So the information that I've got for everybody is we're playing the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Yeah, headliners.
100%
for 1 hour.
So, all right,
in a small venue.
We're not giving away the details just yet,
no,
because we can't give away the details just yet.
Yeah.
But we will be doing a live version of the podcast.
Yep.
I can tell you...
And you can come along to it.
I can tell you that it may or may not be on a date around the 28th of March.
During the day?
It may or may not be around a 4 o'clock show.
Oh, perfect time to go out for dinner afterwards.
Fantastic.
Dinner and a show, but separately, not at once.
You know, and it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be fun. We are genuinely so damn excited to be able to do this.
Yes, you too can see the madness as I get stage fright and just go quiet throughout it.
And I carry both of us and do a ventriloquist act. No, we'll be fine.
We'll be fine.
It's something we've wanted to do for a while. We've talked about doing some live shows. If this works as well as we hope it will and think it might, we're already talking about maybe doing a couple of other live ones across the course of the year.
Yeah.
Which could be a lot of fun to get people out and get people involved. Obviously, it's going to go a lot better if people in the audience know our shtick.
Yeah, but if some random comes along, great.
But more importantly, if you know what we do, when we give you the information, if you go out there and get the tickets first, we're going to have a much better time of this. But we're really excited.
And we're not Beyonce tickets. We're not like Mel Buttle who accidentally... No, I think some scalpers got a hold of the tickets or something, and then they suddenly became Beyonce price.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to be doing some bits and pieces on different food shows. It'll be a bit of Bake Off, be a bit of MasterChef, because that'll be on at that time.
Yep.
So there'll be bits and pieces of all sorts.
Some bunting.
There'll be bunting, there'll be hijinks, there'll be all sorts of stuff. So that's going to be really exciting to be able to do something live at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Not a phrase I ever really thought I'd be saying.
No.
But here we are.
Here we are.
And so, yeah.
That's our F-list celebrity status is being cemented.
F-list rowboat, here we come.
Yeah.
So we'll be giving you more information once we've got all of the marketing stuff out there. We'll be giving that to you so you can go out there and get tickets and come and see it. And it will be a fantastic time.
Yep.
And who knows, we'll probably then be able to arrange a bit of a meet-up afterwards as well and catch up with some people.
We'll just move it on, We might not have the venue and have a so-called performance space after a certain time, but
But Chinatown exists and dumplings are a thing.
Fuck yeah.
So we'll work all that out with everybody. We'll give you all those details. Please let us know on Twitter and Facebook if you're interested or excited. Because we'd like to see people who are interested and excited. That'd be really good. It'd be really horrible to put all this out there and just have, crickets.
No, I think my mum wants to buy a ticket. I mean, she'll still be doing... I think she'll be doing chemo at that time.
Yeah, she won't be able to do that. But anyway...
She's like, oh, where do I get tickets? I'm like, it's not out yet, Mum.
If your mother comes to the show, I'm getting her up on stage.
We can ask her.
I'm doing half an hour purely on your mother and food. But we will as well look. She
can cook you a Kristie slice. Oh my God! So my mum, who is very sick at the moment, as you've probably heard, and is going through radiation therapy. We caught up with her last week when we were away, and she said to me, "Oh, I want to bake you something for." And she does a few slices that are really good, and I love caramel slice. Like her caramel slice is the best caramel slice. Anyway, poor dear. So she pulled the base out of the oven and she'd melted the chocolate and she's just pouring it over the base. And she looks up and then sees the tin of condensed milk unopened on the thing. She's like, oh dear, do I have the... And she didn't have the energy. Like she was struggling to do this, and I felt like it was... How could I put it? When I said, yeah, just cook it for me. There was a bit of, you sure? Like you don't have to. We just have coffee. Anyway. So she's like, fuck it. I'm just going to make the caramel and whack it on top anyway. And she did. And it tasted fantastic. And you know what the bonus of it is that when you ate it, unlike when you eat a caramel slice, the top of it, like the chocolate bit, didn't break up and fall places. It was all secure. It was stuck down by caramel. So I've now renamed this to Kristie slice.
It was a revolution in food. It really was. And it actually tasted really good. I'll give Alice credit. She did a good job with that.
Yeah.
So anyway... That's your lot for this week. We will be back next week for another thrilling episode, and hopefully with some ticket information for you all as well, for our comedy festival show. I can't believe I'm saying that still. So until next week.
Oh, we're made it now, sweetie darling.
No, we're too good for the podcast.
Knob, you know.
So until next week, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
We'll catch you all later.
Hey Google, what are some hot balls?